particular on your Friday. So yeah, a little bit of a wet start to the day there as we look ahead. Otherwise, we are continuing to watch the potential for additional shower and storm activity later in the day on Friday. That will be spreading in from the southwest, starting on a scattered basis. We're going to keep that relatively scattered during the early and mid-afternoon hours. It's toward the evening where we watch additional stronger storms move in from the southwest. You see those arriving and potentially giving us that round of severe weather on Friday evening. But notice the time, 8 o'clock on Friday. So it will be a later day event, it looks like at this point, for those storms to develop to our west and then track into the area. So between 8 and 10 o'clock, areas along and west of Interstate 380, that's when the possibility will be highest. Spreading to the northeast from there. But do note how things become a little bit less intense as we head toward that time period. That is where we're watching for, well, that activity to tail off a little bit. So as we head into the start of Saturday, we're expecting things to stay pretty quiet. That first storm system will have moved on by that point. We'll have some clouds around, but likely dry weather. So the severe weather potential for Friday includes areas highlighted in yellow. This is a more close and wide view, rather, of the threat we just showed you on that 3-panel look. This does include areas like Tama, Oskaloosa, even Washington, Mount Pleasant right on the edge of that, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City right on the edge of that too, so you're not out of the woods when that happens. In terms of individual threats with these storms, high wind, large hail, probably the highest of those threats. The tornado threat is there, it can't be ruled out, but it looks like that's kind of a secondary threat for the round on Friday. The higher risk for that will be located to our southwest, where the ingredients will be a little bit more favorable. Heavy rain, a possibility with any of these rounds of storms, and that does include tomorrow. In fact, we could see a pretty good amount of rain between those two rounds, between half an inch to an inch and a half, or even some more in some spots. So let's pick up Pinpoint Futurecast again, Saturday morning at 6 o'clock. That's where we have a pretty dry and easy start to the day. Now again, some clouds possible. We'll keep the southerly winds around too. But notice how we do have a frontal boundary in the area. Winds will be shifting from the south to the northwest behind it. Let me try drawing that again, folks. There we go. That's where the front will be on Saturday morning. Some very light showers located near it, but for the most part, things will be staying quiet. That boundary will move a little bit during the day. Notice as we went forward in time, that wind shift line is pulling back a little bit farther to the north. And by the afternoon, at least some sunshine means that we're going to build up some temperatures. We're actually going to experience our warmest day of the week on Saturday, with some humidity to it too. You'll notice that change as we go through the start of the weekend. But if you have plans on Saturday, there is also a pretty good window of opportunity to get things in before the chance for storms develops. Now notice by 5 o'clock, some storm activity in southern Wisconsin, some storm activity here in southwest Iowa too. It's this area in between right along that front where the atmosphere will be primed for the potential for severe storms if storms develop. There's a couple things working against it. When that first storm system moves through and moves out of the area, behind it, there's a little bit of downward motion in the atmosphere. That prevents storms from developing, and there's also going to be a little bit of a cap on the atmosphere too, and that's going to help to limit that activity. Now, if something does break that cap and is able to develop, it will likely turn severe with, again, the threat for large hail, damaging winds, and maybe a tornado or two. If it doesn't, then we wait till later Saturday evening and night for new storms to move in from the southwest, where they are more likely to develop as the next storm system passes through. So the severe weather outlook for Saturday includes pretty much all of the TV9 viewing area. That is for the second round of severe potential. Storm Prediction Center, including all of us in that at this point. It's that trailing boundary that's going to be the focus for that as some moisture and some heat builds up too. Now let's pick up Saturday evening again, here from a wider perspective, as this storm system's still a few days away, and so we'll take a little bit of a wider view at it. That storm activity along the boundary or moving in will give us a pretty wet start to the day on Sunday again. Looks like this round less likely again to be severe. Can't totally rule it out, but just because of the time of day and the energy we'll have in place, it looks like we're probably going to be a little bit on the lower end for that threat during that time. But if we catch any sort of break on Sunday as this low pressure system moves in, that's going to give us the opportunity to have a new round of storms that again carries the threat for some severe weather by Sunday afternoon, evening. But that does also move on. Pretty similar timing and overall look to this system on Sunday as to what we are experiencing or expecting on Friday. and it does move on. By Monday morning, we should be drying out, and it looks like the start of the week will be significantly drier. Now, in terms of severe weather risk on Sunday, pretty much the same spot that was on Saturday across the entirety of the TV9 viewing area. This gets updated again tomorrow morning, so we'll have the latest look at that from the Storm Prediction Center on the TV9 Morning News on Friday. In terms of what you can do at this point, the best idea is to just kind of be ready. We got you ready in terms of the severe weather threat last Tuesday. Fortunately, it did not turn out perhaps as intense as its overall potential, which is always the best outcome. That's what we actually want to have happen if we have a severe weather risk and we end up missing much in the way of damage from those storms. Best way to stay ready, KCRG TV9 First Alert Weather app, kcrg.com. That's where we post the most frequent updates. A good way to stay safe when storms occur. Weather Call Next Gen. That's an option for folks that want a personalized alert to their phone in terms of a phone call. So it gives them the heads up directly, something that's harder to ignore than a push notification or one of those little alerts on your phone. So that's something that helps you there. We will be doing live streaming updates here morning and evening as we get toward this severe weather weekend. And of course, during severe weather coverage, our coverage streams on YouTube, our various digital app platforms such as Roku, Apple TV devices, and Fire TV. And we always recommend having a NOAA weather radio. Yes, that transmitter in Cedar Rapids has had issues, but it will likely be repaired soon, and that will help. But the key is having more than one way to get those weather warnings. We, of course, really want to keep you safe, and we do our best here on KCRG TV9 and our various platforms, but whatever you can do to get multiple reminders. It doesn't hurt to have 3 or 4 reminders about a severe weather threat, because that will help to keep you safe. Now, if you find yourself in a warning this weekend, just a reminder of what to do. Get inside if you're not. Get to the lowest floor in your home, interior room. Even during a severe thunderstorm warning, stay away from windows in particular. Certainly if we have storms with large hail, sometimes those can be shattered. Strong winds, obviously, even in the absence of a tornado, can pose damage risks to those windows and to injury risks to you if those windows break. In the case of a tornado warning in particular, cover your head and neck with blankets, pillows. Bike helmet works. Meteorologist Jan Reichert fond of recommending using a large pot or pan to help cover your head. Really anything helps in the case of a tornado. Stay there until the threat is passed. So that just means when the warning's in effect, you should probably stay there until the storm is gone, until we give you the heads up that things are okay. Get that updated information throughout the storms from NOAA Weather Radio, from KCRG TV9, from the First Alert Weather app. All of those good avenues for that. If you find yourself out and about, of course, weekend's very busy. Folks headed to events, have plans. Drake relays going on in Des Moines this weekend, and they're included in the severe weather threat too. When severe storms affect those types of things, make sure to get inside. Overpasses and bridges, not the right kind of protection that you're looking for. If you stop under them, that can just cause traffic jams and make the situation worse for everyone. And it certainly doesn't provide any protection in terms of a tornado. Just get out of your vehicle in a last resort and get as low as you can. Cover your head and neck and watch for flying debris, whatever you can do to stay safe. But of course, we strongly recommend that you get indoors somewhere safe instead. Now, these threats, at least as presented right now from the Storm Prediction Center and how we view them here in the TV9 Weather Lab too, are not the highest risks that we've ever faced. That's the honest truth here. There is the possibility that we end up with severe weather being a little hard to come by here in eastern Iowa, which of course would be a good outcome here. That's what we would love to see at the end of the weekend. But it's just the possibility that we want you to be prepared for, because large hail, damaging winds, tornadoes, all a possibility with this storm system as it moves through. And that is certainly something to always take seriously. Now, as we head into the weekend, that threat picks up. We'll recap here for folks just joining the possibility of severe weather through the weekend. So we'll go back to that outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. Friday, mostly our southwestern corner of the viewing area includes areas like Marshalltown, Iowa Falls, Grinnell, Oskaloosa, Sigourney, Ottumwa, just south of the Vinton area, Williamsburg, as well as down toward Fairfield. Areas to the northeast of that, it's not a 0% chance of severe weather on Friday. It's just a significantly lower one. A stronger storm certainly can't be ruled out there either. Saturday and Sunday, more of an area-wide risk. on Saturday and Sunday, with Saturday being the least certain of these three in terms of storms actually developing during the most favored time for severe weather. So let's time out with the Pinpoint Futurecast one more time. Showers and storms entering the western portions of the viewing area on Friday morning, but these storms will likely be not severe. Heavier downpours, frequent lightning, certainly a possibility as we go through your Friday morning commute, but I think we'll avoid much in the way of severe weather, maybe some small hail possibility here. This activity just taking place outside of the more favored area for that severe weather. Now into the afternoon hours, this starts to become a little bit more sparse, starts to move farther and farther to the northeast, and that leaves us a little bit of a break by the afternoon into the early evening. It's the evening hours when new development takes place off in southwest Iowa. You can see it here at 5 o'clock. New storms developing in an area that's pretty favored for severe weather. If you're really traveling in that direction, certainly keep yourself weather aware in southwest Iowa. That includes areas near Des Moines and points to the south too. By 7 or 8 o'clock, these storms moving into the TV9 viewing area, still posing a risk for some severe weather. Now, as they move farther northeast, they will start to lose their punch a little bit as they outrun those more favored ingredients, and it starts to get into northeast Iowa and really starts to diminish by Friday night into early Saturday. Notice the relatively quiet weather we're going to have for the start of the weekend on Saturday. A little bit of light shower activity still lingers, perhaps during the morning. Severe weather risk on Friday, areas in yellow highlighted. That's where that risk is the highest, and that's even higher in that orange shaded area to the southwest on Friday. So large hail, damaging winds, and an isolated tornado possible. That's the highest threat, wind and hail first, then tornadoes as a secondary threat there, with some heavy rain possible too. Certainly something that we are keeping an eye on into the weekend. Pinpoint Futurecast shows the evolution of this through the day on Saturday. Some clouds are possible during the day, but I think we do see some clearing and probably a lack of precipitation for a good portion of the day, except right along the front that will be set up and somewhat stationary as it hangs around the state. It's actually going to be kind of the connective tissue between the first storm system on Friday and the second one on Sunday. In between, that frontal boundary could serve as the focus for additional shower and storm development as we go toward the evening. See that starting to blossom a little bit after 3 o'clock on Saturday. The likelihood of it taking place a little lower than expected, however. A little lower than rather expected on Friday and Sunday. That's what I meant to say there. But it certainly is a possibility. And if a storm does develop in that area, we will have conditions favorable for severe weather during that time. So certainly a time to keep weather aware. Same story by Saturday, later in the evening into the night even, as storms move in from the southwest. Large hail, damaging wind, isolated tornado, all possible on Saturday as well as these storms move through. Sunday poses another risk for some severe weather, especially early and then again late. The early risk, again, lower, much like on Friday, where we're not going to see that really develop until later in the day as this area of low pressure gets closer. That brings in some upper level wind support, could bring in some extra instability too, and that gives us that threat by Monday or Sunday afternoon and evening. By Monday, things should be much, much quieter. The severe weather risk from the Storm Prediction Center for Sunday, pretty similar to the shape of the one on Saturday for here in eastern Iowa, most folks included, and we just strongly encourage you to stay weather aware throughout. I'm going to take a look at one more thing here before we go. Heavy rainfall potential. That's kind of the other headline here that we have talked about, but haven't put as much emphasis on, obviously, because of the severe weather threat. We could be talking about rainfall that's measured in inches by the time we're done here on Monday morning. We could see easily an inch. I think an inch is a pretty good bet for pretty much everyone in eastern Iowa, but then 2, 3, some isolated instances of 4 inches of rain possible with this system if you find yourself in an area that gets repeated thunderstorms over and over again. Yeah, pretty good chance of rain. Some of the heavier rain we've seen in a while here in eastern Iowa, potentially really going to chip away at the drought conditions that we have ongoing across the area. May even run into a few flooding concerns in terms of like urban flooding during those storms. We'll certainly keep a close eye on it. So that's your update as of this morning. The severe weather risk is out there as we head into the weekend. We want you to stick with us here on KCRG.com and the KCRG apps, both news and weather side. We will keep you informed with these live streams, both during the morning and evening hours. Meteorologist Jan Reichert and Joe Winters and Hannah Metzier all keeping an eye on things too. And of course, we'll continue to give you the first alert as we head into the weekend as well, especially as storms develop. We are there with you throughout the entirety of it. Thanks for joining me this morning. Have a good rest of the day. And of course, stay safe.